The most critical and widely misunderstood signal in the impending gaming revolution is its geography. To believe this shift is a speculative future, mired in the regulatory uncertainty of the West, is to miss the story entirely. The revolution is not coming, it is here, and its operational headquarters are firmly established in Asia, with Japan acting as its primary architect and proving ground. This isn't about niche crypto communities, it's about national industrial policy, corporate alignment, and a cultural embrace of digital ownership that has created a fertile, accelerating ecosystem far removed from the hesitant debates of Washington, D.C. or Brussels. Let's dismantle the Western-centric view. While regulators in the United States grapple with classification, endlessly debating whether a digital asset is a security, a commodity, or something entirely new, Japan has provided the clarity that capital and innovation demand. The Japanese government, through its digital agency, has not taken a passive wait-and-see approach. Instead, it has proactively established a legal and a regulatory framework that distinguishes between different types of digital assets and provides clear guidelines for their issuance and trading. This policy clarity is rocket fuel. It tells major corporations, you can build here, you can invest here, the rules of the road are known. This foundational governmental stance transforms blockchain from a risky experiment into a viable pillar of a national digital strategy. This top-down endorsement has triggered a cascade of corporate action, creating a powerful flywheel effect. The most potent symbol of this is Sony, a global titan of entertainment and gaming. Sony isn't merely dabbling or launching a pilot program, it is building Sony's own dedicated blockchain network. This is a statement of monumental intent. Think of it not as a company releasing a game with blockchain features, but as a company constructing the entire highway system upon which a new generation of digital experiences will run. This network is designed to be the backbone for gaming, music, and digital identity, a holistic ecosystem under the umbrella of one of the world's most trusted entertainment brands. They are not waiting for a third-party solution. They are becoming the solution, inviting developers to build on their sanctioned high-performance infrastructure. The results of this proactive environment are quantifiable and staggering. Reports indicate that Sony's blockchain initiative saw over 1,700 development applications in a single month following its announcement. This number isn't just a metric, it's a seismic event. It represents a massive redirection of global developer talent and entrepreneurial energy toward the Japanese ecosystem. These developers are voting with their code, choosing the jurisdiction and platform that offers them the clearest path to market and the most robust corporate partnership. This influx of talent builds applications which attract users, which in turn attracts more capital and more talent. A classic powerful network effect is now in motion, centered in Tokyo. This activity isn't happening in a vacuum. It's mirrored and amplified across the regional landscape. The Tokyo Game Show, once a traditional showcase for consoles, and features prominent pavilions and announcements from blockchain-native gaming companies and infrastructure providers. Major players like Square Enix have consistently expressed deep philosophical interest in player-owned economies. Meanwhile, in South Korea, giants like Krafton, the creator of PUBG, are aggressively pursuing their own blockchain and metaverse strategies, often in joint ventures with other tech leaders. This creates a competitive, high-stakes regional environment where innovation is the price of entry. The cultural dimension cannot be overstated. In markets like Japan and South Korea, the concept of digital collectibles and virtual goods has been deeply ingrained for decades. From the meticulous curation of rare items in MMORPGs to the massive virtual goods markets in mobile games. The leap from valuing a digital skin in a closed game to owning a verifiable, tradable asset on an open ledger is a smaller cognitive leap here than in markets where gaming is still often viewed purely as a leisure activity. The population is digitally native in a profound way, understanding the intrinsic and social value of virtual items. This cultural readiness means that user adoption curves for blockchain-integrated games are likely to be far steeper. providing the crucial audience data that will convince the entire global industry. This regional lead creates a critical asymmetry. While Western gaming executives might view Web3 features as a risky add-on to be cautiously tested, their Asian counterparts are operating in an environment where it is a core, government-supported component of the next internet. They are gaining years of operational experience, solving real-world scaling issues, understanding user behavior, and forging the partnerships that will define the next decade. They are building the playbook in real time. Therefore, to track this revolution, one must look east. The evidence is not in the press releases of hesitant Western studios, but in the national policies of Japan, the balance sheets of conglomerates like Sony, and the developer migration patterns toward Asia. The fuse was lit not in Silicon Valley, but in Tokyo, and the chain reaction it has initiated is building an irreversible momentum. The West will not dictate the pace of this change. It will eventually be forced to adapt to the model's standards and consumer expectations being forged right now in the global East. The gaming bull run began the moment a major nation decided to build the future rather than merely debate it. The most profound and data-driven argument for the blockchain gaming revolution is not speculative. It is psychological and economic. The shift from a closed rental model of digital goods to a model of verifiable, permanent ownership fundamentally rewires the player's relationship with the game world. This isn't about speculative asset prices. It's about a fundamental shift in incentive structures that creates deeper engagement, stronger communities, and entirely new economic models for developers. The data emerging from pioneering studios provides a clear quantitative blueprint. When players truly own their in-game assets, every key performance indicator, from retention to revenue, experiences a dramatic positive transformation. First, we must understand the psychological gravity of ownership. In the traditional Web 2 gaming model, players spend money on skins, weapons, or characters, but they are, in essence, purchasing a license to use a digital file within a single closed ecosystem. This license can be revoked. The item's utility can be altered by a developer patch, and its existence is entirely tied to the game's servers. There is no true property right. Blockchain technology upends this by enabling verifiable, scarce ownership recorded on a decentralized ledger. That digital sword is no longer a line of code you are permitted to see on your screen. It becomes a discrete, persistent asset that you control. This simple shift from user to owner imparts a profound sense of agency, investment, and identity. The player is no longer just a consumer passing through a theme park. They are a stakeholder building a corner of the digital universe. The behavioral and economic impacts of this psychological shift are staggering and are now being measured. Let's examine the data points from studios that have pioneered these models. Empirical studies show that players who can buy, sell, and trade their owned assets spend, on average, 3 times more money within the game's ecosystem than those who cannot. This isn't just a marginal increase, it's a multiplier. This revenue isn't solely from speculative trading. A significant portion of it flows back into the primary market, the game's own store, as players now invested as owners are more likely to purchase new items to complement their growing collection or enhance their tradable portfolio. They are participating in an economy, not just a checkout line. Furthermore, the impact on engagement metrics is even more telling. Data indicates that players with the ability to sell and trade their assets spend approximately 33% more time in the game. This makes intuitive sense. When your time and effort can result in the acquisition of assets with real retainable value, the incentive to log in, complete quests, and master game mechanics intensifies dramatically. The grind transforms from a repetitive chore into a productive, potentially rewarding activity. This directly attacks one of the traditional gaming industry's biggest challenges. By aligning the player's investment of time with the potential for tangible, digital reward, retention curves steepen and communities become more stable and committed. This creates a powerful, self-reinforcing economic flywheel. Players who are more engaged and who spend more create richer, more active in-game economies. These vibrant economies attract more players, which in turn increases the liquidity and desirability of assets, making the initial ownership proposition even more compelling. Developers are no longer solely reliant on the constant churn of new player acquisition and one-time purchases. They can build sustainable, ongoing economies where they take a small percentage of every secondary transaction, a royalty in perpetuity. This transforms a game from a product with a finite sales cycle into a persistent, living service with its own GDP. This model also unlocks revolutionary new forms of gameplay and community governance. Play to earn is a simplistic label for a broader concept. Play to own, play to contribute, play to shape. When players own the assets and potentially the governance tokens of a game's ecosystem, they become vested partners in its success. Decisions about game balance, new features, and economic policy can be decentralized, moving away from opaque, top-down developer decrees to community-driven proposals and vote. This fosters a sense of collective ownership and responsibility that is impossible under the traditional publisher-player dynamic. The community is incentivized to nurture and improve the game world, not just exploit it. The final crucial piece of this data is the network effect it creates for intellectual property, IP. In a world of owned assets, a successful game's items become cultural artifacts that carry value and history beyond the game itself. A legendary sword from one game could have its provenance and history verifiable on-chain, making it a coveted item even in other virtual worlds through interoperability. This strengthens IP in a way previously unimaginable, making game worlds not just places to visit, but legacies to build within. The conclusion is inescapable for any studio analyzing the numbers. True ownership is not a niche feature for a crypto audience. It is the most powerful player engagement and monetization tool yet discovered. It directly translates into longer session times, higher lifetime value per user, stronger community cohesion, and a sustainable, perpetual revenue model. The data doesn't just suggest a new monetization layer, it charts a path toward a deeper, more resilient, and fundamentally more valuable form of interactive entertainment. The old model was about selling entertainment. The new model is about co-creating value. The most compelling, non-speculative engine of the gaming revolution is not a new graphics technology or a novel genre, but a fundamental recalibration of a core economic relationship, the relationship between player and property. The shift from a licensed access model to a model of verifiable, sovereign digital ownership does not merely add a feature, it rewires the psychological and economic circuitry of. This transformation is moving from theoretical promise to empirical reality, with data from pioneering studios painting an unambiguous picture. When players transition from being tenants in a digital world to stakeholders within it, every critical metric of engagement, revenue, and community health undergoes a radical, positive metamorphosis. This is the heart of the revolution, a proven blueprint for creating deeper, more valuable, and more sustainable virtual economies. To grasp the magnitude of this shift, we must first diagnose the limitation of the incumbent model. For decades, the industry has operated on a paradigm of illusionary ownership. A player spends $20 on a legendary skin or a powerful. What they are actually purchasing is a revocable license, a permission slip from the publisher to display a specific set of pixels within the confines of their walled garden. The publisher retains absolute control. They can alter the item's functionality, devalue it through inflationary re-releases, or simply erase it by shutting down a server. The player's investment, both financial and emotional, is intrinsically precarious. This system creates a fundamental misalignment. The player's desire is for lasting achievement and identity. The publisher's model is based on transient consumption. Blockchain technology shatters this paradigm by enabling provable, persistent, and portable ownership. That digital asset is cryptographically sealed to the player's wallet, an immutable record on a public ledger. It exists independently of any single game server. This transforms the asset from a consumable into capital, a piece of property with inherent, durable rights. The behavioral and economic consequences of this psychological shift, from user to owner, are now being quantified, and the data is staggering. Consider the comprehensive findings from studios implementing these economies. Research demonstrates that players who operate within ecosystems where they can truly own, trade, and sell their in-game assets exhibit a 300% increase in total spending within that ecosystem compared to players in traditional models. This multiplier effect is the most direct signal to developers and publishers, but this revenue is not solely, or even primarily, from speculative frenzy. A critical breakdown shows that a significant portion of this increased spend is redirected back into the primary market, the game's official store. The reason is profound. Ownership begets curation. A player who owns a tradable set of armor is now a collector and an investor. They are incentivized to enhance their portfolio, purchasing new items that complement their existing assets or increase their collection's overall value. They are participating in a holistic economy, not engaging in isolated transactions. Even more telling than the revenue data is the transformation in engagement and retention, the holy grail of live service gaming. Studies show that players granted the ability to sell and trade their owned assets spend, on average, over 30% more time actively engaged within the game. This is a seismic shift in player motivation. The grind is recontextualized. Repetitive tasks are no longer a mere path to ephemeral progression. They become productive labor with the potential to yield assets of lasting, negotiable value. Daily quests, difficult achievements, and community events are infused with tangible economic stakes. This directly counteracts the endemic problem of player churn. By aligning the player's investment of time with the potential for tangible digital equity, developers create a powerful retention hook that is self-reinforcing. The player is building a portfolio, not just filling a progress bar. This dynamic initiates a powerful, self-sustaining economic flywheel. A core of deeply invested, high-retention players creates a liquid and vibrant secondary market. This liquidity and visible economic activity make the game world feel alive and credible, attracting a new wave of players. These newcomers see a functioning economy where effort can be converted into value, further fueling participation. Developers, crucially, are positioned to benefit from every cycle of this flywheel by embedding small automatic royalties, e.g. 5–10%, into the smart contracts governing secondary sales. They generate a perpetual revenue stream from the economic activity they facilitated, but no longer need to directly manage. The game evolves from a product with a front-loaded sales curve into a persistent platform with its own growing gross digital product, GDP. Beyond pure economics, true ownership unlocks revolutionary new dimensions of gameplay, narrative, and community. The concept of play to earn is a reductive headline for a broader paradigm. Play to shape, play to belong. When players hold verifiable assets, and often governance tokens, they transition from an audience to a constituency. The development roadmap can incorporate decentralized autonomous organization, DAO, principles, where major decisions about game balance, new content, and resource allocation are voted on by the asset-holding community. This fosters a profound sense of collective stewardship. Players are no longer criticizing a distant publisher. They are debating policy as stakeholders. This transforms community management from a cost center focused on damage control into a collaborative design process. Finally, this model fundamentally upgrades the nature of intellectual property IP itself. In a world of owned assets, items become narrative vessels and cultural heirlooms. The history of a specific sword, which legendary boss it dropped from, which famous player wielded it in a tournament, the chain of ownership can be immutably recorded on its blockchain provenance. This item carries its story with it, potentially across multiple compatible games or virtual world. The IP is no longer confined to a single title, but becomes a persistent legend in a wider digital mythology, deepening player attachment and creating cross-platform value. The evidence, therefore, points to an inevitable conclusion. True digital ownership is not a speculative gamble or a niche add-on for a crypto-centric audience. It is a superior economic and engagement framework, validated by hard data. It delivers what every studio executive seeks: drastically higher player lifetime value, exponentially improved retention, the creation of self-sustaining economic ecosystems, and the forging of communities bound by shared investment rather than fleeting interest. The old model sold entertainment. The new model, powered by ownership, is poised to sell meaning, legacy, and partnership. The data is clear. The future of gaming belongs not to the players who play the most, but to the players who own a piece of the world they love. The narrative of the Web3 gaming revolution is often framed as a disruptive, grassroots movement destined to topple the entrenched giants of the industry. This is a critical misreading of the strategic landscape. The true signal is not rebellion from the fringes, but a methodical, multi-front colonization of this new frontier by the very titans who built the old world. Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and the sprawling ecosystems of platforms like Twitch and Discord are not passive observers, anxiously watching a potential threat emerge. They are active, sophisticated architects, positioning their massive infrastructure as the essential plumbing and on-ramps for the next era of digital interaction. Their moves are not about adopting a trend. They are about absorbing a new paradigm into their existing empires, ensuring that when the tectonic plates of gaming shift, they remain the foundational bedrock. To understand their strategy, one must recognize that these companies do not think in terms of individual games or even singular platforms. They think in terms of ecosystem capture and service layer dominance. Their play is not to launch the blockchain halo, but to ensure that whatever games emerge, whether they are indie passion projects or AAA blockbusters run on their cloud servers, are discovered through their storefronts, are streamed via their services, and are monetized through their payment rails. Blockchain gaming, with its needs for secure asset ownership, microtransactions, identity, and interoperability, presents not a threat, but a massive new demand for precisely the kind of scalable, trusted infrastructure these titans excel at providing. Let's deconstruct the specific, deliberate positioning of each major player, starting with Microsoft. Its strategy is a masterclass in leveraging existing strengths. Through Xbox, Microsoft possesses one of the world's largest and most engaged console ecosystems and a thriving Game Pass subscription service. Its recent, aggressive growth in Asia, a region it has explicitly prioritized, is not coincidental. It is positioning its hardware and its cloud gaming service, xCloud, as the ideal low-friction gateway for millions of players into games that feature digital ownership. A player in Tokyo can stream a complex, asset-rich blockchain game directly to their Xbox phone or a future dedicated handheld without ever worrying about wallet setup or gas fees, because those complexities can be abstracted away by the platform. Microsoft's recent partnerships and explorations into digital proof of ownership features within its ecosystem are Their goal is to make the user experience indistinguishable from a traditional game purchase, while the underlying technology enables new economic models for developers on their platform. Amazon's approach is equally telling, but focused on its core competencies: e-commerce, cloud computing, OAS, and entertainment distribution. Its experiments are multifaceted. First, through Amazon Prime Gaming, it has begun distributing digital reward packs for Web3 games, essentially selling NFT through the world's most trusted online checkout process. This is a monumental step in normalization. Secondly, AWS is the dominant backend for the entire gaming industry. It is actively developing and marketing blockchain-specific node hosting and managed ledger services. Amazon is strategically saying to game developers, you want to build this new type of game. Build it here on the same reliable, scalable infrastructure you already use. We will handle the complex blockchain parts for you. This removes a massive technical barrier to entry for mainstream studios. Furthermore, by integrating potential digital asset marketplaces with its existing Amazon, Calm, or Twitch platforms, it can create a seamless loop from watching a streamer use a skin to legally purchasing that verifiable skin with one click. The role of content and social platforms is perhaps the most subtle yet powerful. Twitch, owned by Amazon, has run multiple campaigns where viewers earn exclusive, tradable in-game skins by watching streams. This is a Trojan horse for a new business model. Demonstrates how digital ownership can directly monetize engagement and community in a way that simple ad revenue or subscriptions cannot. It turns viewership into a participatory, rewarded activity. Similarly, Discord has explored integrations for wallet display and community treasuries. These platforms are the social fabric of gaming. By weaving ownership and identity into that fabric, they increase user lock-in and create new data-rich economies around social capital and influence. They become the social graph upon which these new asset-based economies are built. Even Apple, with its famously walled garden, is engaging in a calculated dance. While its App Store policies have been restrictive, its development of privacy-centric frameworks and its immense control over mobile hardware and payments position it as a potential gatekeeper that could define the user experience for mobile-first blockchain gaming. Its strategy will likely be one of extreme curation and control, aiming to offer a safe, sanitized version of digital ownership that meets its standards and earns its 30% fee. The collective implication of these moves is a profound absorption strategy. The innovation and cultural energy may originate from disruptive startups, but the scalability, trust, and distribution will be provided by the incumbents. They are building the highways, toll booths, and service stations for the new digital economy. For a player, this means the transition will feel frictionless. The ownership benefits will simply be a feature of the games they already play on the platforms they already use. For a developer, it means accessing these new economic tools will be as simple as using a new SDK from Microsoft or a new service from AWS. This is not a story of displacement. It is a story of integration and infrastructural dominance. The Titans are not betting on on one game 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 or 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 one token. They are betting that the entire concept of verifiable digital assets will become a standard feature of the internet, and they are aggressively ensuring that when it does, that feature runs on their operating systems, their cloud networks, and their social platform. They are playing a longer, deeper game than any single project. They are playing for the position of being the indispensable neutral-ish layer upon which the entire owned digital future is. Their quiet, steady build-out is the clearest signal that this revolution is not a bubble. It is a foundational upgrade being engineered into the very architecture of our digital lives. Every technological and economic revolution in history has been built upon a new class of The industrial age required steel and precision machinery. The digital age required silicon and standardized protocols. The emerging era of sovereign digital ownership and interoperable virtual worlds is no different. It demands a new kind of infrastructure. The gold in this modern rush is the attention, engagement, and economic activity of billions of gamers. The shovels, the indispensable high-margin tools that enable the entire enterprise, are the scalable, application-specific layer, one blockchain networks. To focus solely on the flashy games and speculative assets is to miss the strategic bedrock of the entire movement. The true architectural battle, and thus the most significant long-term investment thesis, is being waged at the protocol layer, where networks like Avalanche, Polkadot, Solana, and emerging giants are competing to become the unbreakable, high-throughput backbone for the next internet. The failure of earlier blockchain experiments in gaming, particularly during the 2017-2021 cycle, can be traced directly to a fundamental infrastructural mismatch. Pioneering projects were forced to build on networks like early Ethereum, which were designed for decentralized finance, not real-time global interaction. The consequences were catastrophic from a user experience standpoint: exorbitant, fluctuating transaction fees that could eclipse the value of a digital item, painfully slow confirmation times that shattered gameplay immersion, and a clunky, technically daunting onboarding process requiring seed phrases and wallet approvals for every minor action. This was the equivalent of trying to build a massively multiplayer online game on top of a dial-up modem in a stock trading terminal. It failed not because the vision was wrong, but because the foundational layer was unfit for purpose. The new generation of gaming chains or consumer app chains has been engineered from the ground up to solve this exact problem. Their value proposition is not ideological purity, but pragmatic performance and developer-centric design. They prioritize 3 non-negotiable requirements: sub-second finality, the time it takes for a transaction to be permanently confirmed; near zero transaction costs, often subsidized or abstracted away entirely for the end user; and massive, sustainable throughput, the ability to process tens of thousands of transactions per second. A player buying a potion or receiving a loot drop should not be aware they are interacting with a blockchain. The experience must be as seamless as a credit card swipe in a mobile app. Networks like Avalanche, with its subnets, and Solana, with its parallel processing, are built specifically for this invisible high-speed reality. But raw speed is only the first hurdle. The second, more complex requirement is sovereign flexibility within shared security. This is where the architectural philosophies of networks like Polkadot and Avalanche's subnet system shine. Their core insight is that a single monolithic blockchain cannot possibly optimize for every type of game. A hyper-casual mobile game, open-world RPGs, and a complex strategy simulation have wildly different technical and economic needs. The solution is to allow game studios or ecosystems to launch their own dedicated application-specific blockchains, often called app chains, parachains, or subnets. These app chains are not isolated. They are secured by the collective validation power of the main network, the relay chain on Polkadot, the primary network on Avalanche. This gives developers the best of both worlds: the autonomy to customize their chain's rules, governance, and fee structure perfectly for their game, coupled with the battle-tested security of a major blockchain. They can innovate freely without compromising on safety. This leads to the third critical function: enabling secure, trustless interoperability. The grand vision of a connected metaverse, where your avatar or items can travel between different games and worlds, cannot be built on a series of isolated, walled garden databases. It requires a standardized, neutral communication layer. This is the interoperability promise at the heart of these networks. Through cross-chain messaging protocols like Polkadot's XCM or Avalanche Warp Messaging, assets and data can move securely between different app chains built on the same ecosystem. A sword forged on a fantasy game subnet can have its ownership and properties verified on a marketplace subnet, or even displayed as a trophy in a racing game subnet. This creates a fertile ground for combinatorial innovation, where the value of the entire network grows exponentially with each new quality application that joins it. The business model for these shovel makers is exceptionally powerful. They do not take equity in the games built on them, nor do they typically have direct exposure to the speculative success or failure of individual in-game assets. Their value accrual is tied to the fundamental utility of their network. As more games and users generate more transactions, the demand for the native token used for staking, governance, and often to pay base layer fees increases. They are akin to a toll road operator or an energy grid. They prosper from the overall growth and economic activity of the ecosystem, not from picking individual winners. This makes them a more fundamental, less volatile bet on the thesis itself. Ultimately, the competition among these Layer 1 networks is a contest to become the standard-setting protocol for digital reality. The winner S will not necessarily be the one with the most pure decentralization, but the one that most successfully removes friction for both developers and end users. They must provide a developer experience so smooth that studio engineers can focus on game design, not cryptography, and a user experience so seamless that players engage with own digital assets without ever knowing the complex machinery working beneath the surface. The games we play in 5 years will be the shimmering, captivating gold. But the immense enduring value will be captured by the entities that manufactured the shovels, built the smelters, and laid the railroads, the scalable blockchains that made extracting that gold not only possible, but effortless. The race to build this infrastructure is already the most consequential and least flashy story in the gaming revolution. The ultimate destination of the gaming revolution and the true source of its transformative power lies not in any single game, platform, or economic model, but in the principle that will connect them all: interoperability. This is the final, most ambitious note in the symphony. While the current industry paradigm is defined by walled gardens, fortified, isolated ecosystems like Fortnite, World of Warcraft, or the PlayStation Network, the new model is built for an open, interconnected network of experiences. The endgame is a shift from gaming as a series of distinct destinations to gaming as a persistent, composable universe where player identity, social capital, and hard-earned assets are portable, meaningful, and persistent across countless virtual worlds. This dismantling of digital borders is not a utopian fantasy. It is the logical, data-driven conclusion of trends in ownership, infrastructure, and player desire, and it promises to redefine the very nature of what a game is. To understand the gravity of this shift, consider the profound limitations of the status quo. Today, a player's investment is siloed. Hundreds of hours and dollars poured into one game universe have zero bearing on another. The legendary sword, the rare mount, the unique cosmetic, these symbols of achievement and identity are imprisoned within their respective titles. When a player grows bored or the game's population declines, that investment becomes functionally worthless. This isolation is a relic of a pre-blockchain centralized database model. It serves the business interests of platform holders who seek to maximize lock-in. But it fundamentally disrespects the player's time, loyalty, and the intrinsic value they ascribe to their digital possessions. Interoperability is the philosophical and technical rebuttal to this paradigm, asserting that the value a player creates should be theirs to carry forward. The technical foundation for this shift is now being laid by the shovel blockchains discussed earlier through cross-chain communication protocols, and these are the diplomatic treaties and common languages of the new digital frontier. Protocols like the Inter-Blockchain Communication, IBC, Protocol, Polkadot's cross-consensus messaging, XCM, and Avalanche warp messaging allow sovereign app chains and virtual worlds to exchange verifiable data and assets without a central, trusted intermediary. This means a game developer on one chain can design a quest that requires a player to prove they own a specific item minted on a completely different chain, with the verification being cryptographically secure and automatic. This technical capability transforms interoperability from a pipe dream into a programmable feature. The implications for player identity and social capital are revolutionary. Today, your gamer tag and reputation are siloed. Tomorrow, you could have a persistent, user-controlled digital identity, a passport wallet that carries a verifiable resume of your accomplishments across multiple games. This passport could show you are a master raider from one memo, a top 100 ranked competitor in a shooter, and a renowned architect in a social sandbox game. This composite identity becomes a powerful social and functional asset, potentially granting you access to exclusive guilds, beta tests, or in-world privileges across the network. Your reputation becomes a portable, valuable currency. For digital assets, interoperability unlocks a new dimension of utility and narrative. An item is no longer defined solely by its stats in one game. Its history, provenance, and aesthetic become its core value. Imagine a blade of the fallen titan that was first earned by the collective effort of a guild in a fantasy RPGs. That sword's blockchain record proves its legendary origin. It could then be displayed as a trophy in a player's personal 3D showroom, a separate application, used as a unique skin for a melee weapon in a compatible sci-fi shooter, or even serve as collateral in a decentralized finance protocol. The item's story and value compound as it travels. This turns game developers from sole creators into world builders within a larger canon. They can design items or events that reference lore from other interoperable worlds, creating a richer, collaborative tapestry of narrative that no single studio could produce alone. This ecosystem fosters a new model of composability and emergent gameplay. Independent developers can build experiences, tools, and marketplaces that plug into the assets and identities of larger worlds. A small team could create a strategic minigame that uses popular creature NFTs from a major title as its playing pieces. Another could build a sophisticated armory app for managing and customizing interoperable gear collections. The economic activity and innovation in these peripheral, composable applications will feed value back into the core games, creating a positive-sum ecosystem far more robust than any single company's product roadmap. Crucially, this future redefines competitive dynamics for the industry's titans. In an interoperable world, the goal shifts from trapping a player inside your garden to being the most attractive destination within an open network. Platform value is derived from the quality of your content, the fairness of your economy, and the strength of your community, not from the height of your walls. This aligns corporate incentives directly with player satisfaction in a way the current model does not. The journey to full interoperability will be incremental. It will begin with small alliances, a few games sharing a cosmetic line, a marketplace recognizing assets from multiple chains. But the trajectory is set. The convergence of player demand for lasting value, the economic logic of cross-pollination, and the maturation of the necessary protocols makes the shift from isolation to interconnection inevitable. The endgame is not a single metaverse controlled by one corporation, but a sprawling, user-centric multiverse, a constellation of independent yet connected worlds where the player, armed with their sovereign identity and portable possessions, is the true protagonist, free to write their story across the entire digital universe. This is the final, most empowering promise of the revolution. The walls are coming down, and the entire horizon will become your playground.